Well, our first conversation, the push to crack down on chases in Macomb County. This is an issue we have reported on a lot recently, with several innocent drivers being killed by drivers who are running from police. In fact, in about 90 minutes, a man accused of taking Warren police on a chase leading to a crash where an innocent bystander died will be in court. 33-year-old Anthony Greer Jr. is charged with second-degree murder. Investigators say on May 24th, police tried to stop him for speeding on Van Dyke. The chase ended near 9 Mile, where police say Greer hit a 71-year-old woman's car. That woman died in that crash. That hearing is starting at 9:30 this morning. So let's take a big picture look at some of these numbers here. In 2019, the county charged 226 people with fleeing and eluding. That number has gone up every year, with 403 in 2024. This conversation leads us to our Local 4 Live question of the day. How do you feel about the possibility of having stricter punishments if a suspect runs from police? All you have to do is scan that QR code there at the bottom of your screen. Let us know how you feel about it, and we're going to take your comments right here live on Local 4 Live. Now, because Macomb County Prosecutor Pete Lucido is working on all this, he is joining us now, asking about these tougher laws that he's trying to put forward. Pete, thank you for joining us this morning. I do want to point out, first of all, that there are essentially two different conversations here. There is a different conversation about whether or not a pursuit should happen. Some are certainly warranted, some in some cases, not at all. But what I think you're trying to do here is stop the chase from happening, or stop that suspect from fleeing in the first place. At least that's my takeaway. What is that your goal?
Yes, it is. In fact, to the point, when I went to driver's training, they taught us that when they activate the bubbles and the siren, you're supposed to go ahead, cautiously move to the side of the road, stop your vehicle, not run from the police. And if one runs from the law, then they can walk to a cell. And that's my ultimate goal, because we change laws every day. In fact, as a lawmaker in the past, I know the importance of going ahead and making the law fit for the times that we're in. It seems like there's been an explosion of fleeing and eluding, and people don't follow the law. In fact, if they can get away with it, so be it, but they're putting risk of public safety, which is first and foremost to the citizens here in Macomb County, as well as the entire state. It should be no different than one with a gun gets you two. That's what they did as an initiative 40 years ago when I started practicing law. They came out with a program that said if you own a handgun, then you better have it registered, you better do everything. But if you're using that in the commission of a felony, you're going to first do your time under the felony that you committed and then get 2 years for the gun charge. In my case, I want to do the same thing. Nick, there's no excuse for a person not to go ahead and stop for a police officer. This is absolutely insane what I see. Driving on sidewalks, driving in between lanes, going ahead and ultimately people are getting injured and or killed. As a result, our insurance is going up. The municipalities are paying more lawsuits. At the end of the day, if they just stop their vehicle, that's all the officers wanted was compliance.
So it sounds like, from reading some of the information your office put out yesterday, the first thing you want to do is take plea deals off the table. So if someone is arrested for fleeing and eluding, you're not going to deal with them at all?
We're not going to give them any offer of a plea deal. There's no excuse. Look at Nick, the fourth degree fleeing and eluding is a 2-year, I call it a high court misdemeanor, but it's a low felony. They're not even giving time, the judges. It's a 0 to 9 month sentencing guideline offense. Guess what? If somebody's fleeing, that's an intentional act to try to run from the police to get away with the crime. And we will not let criminals get away with crimes. You have to be accountable, and then we can give you redemption. So in this case here, why wouldn't you want to go ahead and send a hard message that says, just stop your car. If you don't, you're going to jail. That's it. Done.
So the guidelines, again, from 0 to 9 to up to 15 years, we were talking about in the newsroom this morning, those are all guidelines. And you are starting to work with the legislature to make a mandatory sentence. Have those conversations begun?
Yes, they have. In fact, we have a meeting. Look, as a former lawmaker, I know how important it is to get it and have everything in place. So they're coming to the office. They're going to sit down. It's going to be bipartisan because there's no D and there's no R as it relates to fleeing, eluding, and or committing crimes. Public safety is at the forefront, and every one of us in this state should be cognizant of, we don't want cars that are going to jeopardize our loved ones on the road. Therefore, they're coming to the office. We're going to have a bipartisan support package to go and change the law. There's no excuse. There's not one person that said they don't want this. And you know why? What are we really doing? If we're trying to protect police officers, we're trying to protect the public from safety hazards, why would you want to give a deal when somebody's traveling at 100 miles an hour? That's just not a bullet coming at you. This can cause major damages to major vehicles and or trucks that are out there, putting people's lives in jeopardy.
So what would you like to see in terms of a law change? What would be the new minimum?
You know what, Nick? It's exactly like they do with the felony firearm rule. You do 2 years on your first fleeting eluding. Then the next time you do it, you do 5 years. And if you do it again, you get 10 years. If you do it a fourth time, you're going to do 15 years.
So you're looking
it's
at
no different.
You're looking
no
at
different than the
mandatory
felony firearm.
sentencing of 2, 5, 10, or 15, depending on if you're a repeat offender.
Exactly, Nick. Right to the point. And here's the reason why. If you've learned the law when you went and got a license, and it's a privilege to be on the road, we not only want to take away your license, which is part of the fleeting eluding under state law, but we also want you to realize that if you steal a car and then go and flee by that stolen vehicle, you're not only broke the law to steal the car, but you're committing in the commission a felony of fleeing eluding, which is no different if you had a gun in the car. And should be as serious as gun charges, because there's more damage being done with these vehicles today and the accidents. As you clearly see, we've over doubled from the time I got in office, almost doubled. And you know what the cost is? It's insurmountable for taxpayers, city, townships, and villages to pay off claims, as well as manpower, women power of police. Lastly, the risk of harm to public safety through these communities.
All right, so Pete, I do have to ask you, we have seen a lot of chases in Metro Detroit over the past couple of years, specifically in Macomb County. Some of them obviously were absolutely warranted, especially when you're dealing with high-level crimes. Some maybe not so much. Where are you on the line of when a pursuit should or should not happen?
Good question. Internal police policy, and they're being monitored by a sergeant who's in charge. So when they're radioing each other saying, we're in pursuit, we're traveling 75 miles an hour, or whatever the case may be, you got to look at the road conditions. You got to look at whether or not it's a busy time of day. Is it in the middle of the morning? You got to look at the nature and circumstances of the crime. And you got to look at this. Are we putting public safety at risk? I know that all the police chiefs that I've talked to, and we have these routine meetings, this is something that's internal within their own organization. I know that there's a person at the helm, like the quarterback, that's making the call on whether or not to disengage the pursuit or to continue the pursuit. And I know that it's not something that they want to do. If the person just stopped, they wouldn't even need a policy. But because there is people that just want to continue to break the law, the surge is way up here in Macomb County, and the disregard and disrespect of the law, we need to go ahead and make sure we send a message that says the next person that wants to commit this crime isn't getting a deal but going to prison.
Prosecutor Pete Lucido out of Macomb County, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for explaining some information your office just put out yesterday.
Thanks, Nick. Have a great day.
Take care. You too.